The internet loves to romanticize Japanese discipline. We watch videos on Kaizen, praise their unmatched work ethic, and envy a society that functions like a perfectly oiled machine. But if you peel back the curtain on the cleanest, most efficient country on earth, you find a darker, exhausting reality. A reality where human beings are physically collapsing in public just to survive the day. According to global sleep data, Japan officially ranks as the most sleep-deprived nation in the entire world, with the average citizen failing to hit even the bare minimum of healthy rest. It is a society running on empty, plagued by a phenomenon known as Inemuri, the cultural practice of napping in corporate meetings, on sidewalks, and on train floors. In the West, falling asleep at your desk is a fireable offense. In Japan, it is often respected because it proves you have sacrificed your own biological survival for the collective good. It is the ultimate badge of toxic productivity. Today, we are looking at the inverse of self-improvement. We aren't looking at what to copy from Japan. We are looking at the severe psychological traps of over-optimization and the exact cultural mistakes you need to stop making in your own life before you break. To understand how a society reaches this level of exhaustion, we have to look at their foundational psychological frameworks. Specifically, a concept called Gaman. Gaman is often translated as enduring the seemingly unendurable with patience and dignity. It's the mental fortitude to suppress your own complaints, bite your tongue, and keep moving forward through hardship for the sake of social harmony. In moderation, Gaman is a beautiful trait. It builds incredible resilience, but when weaponized by modern corporate environments, it becomes a psychological trap. When a culture treats suffering in silence as the highest form of virtue, setting healthy boundaries is no longer seen as self-care. It's seen as a weakness. It creates a baseline of profound subconscious guilt. You begin to believe that if you aren't actively suffering, you aren't working hard enough. Ask yourself, how many times have you pushed through severe mental burnout or physical illness just to prove your worth to an invisible audience? When we internalize this toxic variation of Gaman, we stop listening to our body's survival signals. We don't solve our stress, we just hide it until it breaks us. This brings us to the second cultural trap, the illusion of presence. In many traditional Japanese workplaces, efficiency matters far less than visibility. Leaving the office before your boss or your senior colleagues is viewed as a severe lack of loyalty. The result? Hours of agonizing, performative overwork. Employees stay late not because they have tasks to complete, but because they are trapped in a game of psychological chicken, waiting to see who dares to go home first. This performative busyness has a literal body count. In Japan, they had to invent a specific medical term for it, Karoshi, which translates directly to death from overwork. Karoshi isn't a metaphor, it is the literal physiological failure of the human body, usually via sudden heart attacks or strokes, brought on by chronic, long-term sleep deprivation and extreme psychological stress. The brain quite literally shuts down the system because it is refused the time to repair itself. When your productivity system requires you to sacrifice basic biological survival mechanisms just to maintain appearances, it isn't discipline anymore, it's bad math. You are trading your literal lifespan for temporary corporate validation. So, what is the inverse lesson here? How do we build true, sustainable discipline without falling into the trap of toxic exhaustion? It requires 3 non-negotiable mental shifts. First, separate your identity from your output. You are a biological organism, not a factory machine. If your self-worth instantly plummets the moment you take a rest day, your mind has been conditioned to treat human existence as a transaction. Rest is not a reward you earn only when you are on the verge of collapse. It is a prerequisite. Second, reject performative busyness. True discipline is ruthless efficiency. getting the job done cleanly so you can close the laptop. Dragging a 3-hour project into a 6-hour marathon just to look dedicated to yourself or your boss is a form of self-sabotage. And third, protect your sleep like your life depends on it, because the data proves it does. High performers don't sleep less to get more done. They treat recovery as an active part of their execution strategy. Without it, your cognitive processing speed, emotional regulation, and decision-making capabilities decay by the hour. True mental mastery isn't about testing the absolute limits of how much suffering your mind can endure before your body gives out. True discipline is knowing when to stop, step back, and protect the very engine that allows you to think in the first place. Don't build a life you have to pass out to escape. Stop treating exhaustion as a badge of honor. If you've ever felt trapped in this cycle of toxic productivity, let me know in the comments how you broke out of it. Let's start a conversation down below. Stay sharp, protect your mind, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.